Do you know what a fear-monger is? A fear-monger is a purveyor of fear. This is a person who intentionally spreads fear by exaggerating the truth, usually for their own benefit. Now, in today's world, there's something called retirement fear-mongers. In today's video, I'd like to share with you some of the reasons why we should stop listening to retirement fear-mongers. Now, these are the financial advisors and institutions, as well as content creators, who are always talking about how bad things are and how difficult it is to retire unless you buy into their system or whatever. And they like to use catastrophic words to get your attention. Words that sound like biggest regrets, biggest mistakes, market crash, economy collapse, Social Security is in jeopardy, Social Security is being defunded, Social Security won't be there for you when you retire, tough times lie ahead, and so forth. It's kind of like the story of Chicken Little, who was always saying, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. And so in this video, I'd like to talk about some of the reasons why we should stop listening to them. And then towards the end, I'd like to offer you some encouraging tips that might help you see your way forward so that you can formulate your own retirement plan and retire yourself. So here's why we should stop listening to retirement fearmongers. Number one, you will be too afraid to retire. Now, if I had kept listening to them, I would have never retired because I would have been too afraid to do so. Furthermore, their information led me to believe that I couldn't retire because it was out of reach for me. For instance, it's very common for them to say nowadays that you need $3 million in your retirement portfolio before you can retire. And I'm like, oh, really? $3 million? Well, guess what? I never made $3 million over 40 years of working for a living, so why would I need $3 million for 20 years of retirement, which is half the time? Go figure that. The math just doesn't square out. Susie Orman says that you need $6 million to retire, which I've mentioned before. Now, I listened to a video about 2 days ago of a content creator online who said, and listen to this, that you would need $350,000 cash just to cover your medical insurance and health costs in retirement, and that you would need another $800,000 just to cover your retirement taxes. And I'm kind of like, what kind of world are these people living in, talking those kind of numbers? Now, I've said all that to say this. What is the point of telling people that they need this kind of money to be able to retire if 95% of us will never be able to reach that amount right there? I'll tell you what, fear-mongering, hoping that you will click in, and buy in to their system. But not only are those kind of numbers out of reach for us to put into our retirement portfolio, you probably haven't even made that much money over the course of your entire working career. Now, despite those astronomical numbers that they say you need to have, millions of working class people, people like me and people like you, millions of working class people retire every single year, and they do just fine. And aren't you glad? Number two, another reason we should stop listening is because it leads to panic. That's why. Now, in the last month or so, I have posted 2 videos in which I made a reference to that I needed to stop listening to so much TV news because it's all so negative and it keeps us upset and completely bent out of shape. And when it comes to financial matters, if you listen to too much negativity, it leads to panic, which is exactly what's been happening in the last month or so. I don't have to remind you, but I will. A few weeks ago, the stock market had this dramatic downturn because of U.S. policy and the trade wars and tariffs and so forth. And people were having a complete meltdown over this because the stock market had dropped so dramatically. And the news, oh boy, they just loved it. They were having a field day. And the worse that they could paint the picture, the better for them, because we would tune into that channel. And financial advisors and financial planners used it to their advantage. They were talking about the impending market crash and loss of fortunes and so forth. And the content creators and YouTube channels, they got on board with the same wagon, and we're using the clickbait to get us to buy in and saying that now your retirement is in jeopardy and this is what you need to do. And it was just on and on and on, and it got people into a panic. Well, then lo and behold, last week the stock market did this dramatic upturn. I mean, the third largest upswing since World War II. And now everybody is calming down all over again. Now, I've said all that to say this. It really stinks to be yanked around like that and to be yanked back and forth. Like you're a yo-yo on the end of a string and that somebody else is doing the yanking. Who wants to live like that? And when it comes to financial matters, it's easy to get into a panic if you listen to enough of that negativity. So when it comes to the stock market, always remember this. On a day-to-day basis, the stock market is very dramatic. It's always ebb and flow, up and down, in and out, back and forth. It's always doing that simply because Wall Street is responding to the news, just like it's doing right now. Whatever the market is doing today, whatever the market did yesterday, and whatever the market's going to do tomorrow is simply a snapshot in time. But if you zoom back out and take a look at the big picture, you'll realize that the stock market has consistently gone up over the last 100 years. And it always self-corrects, just like we see it doing right now. So in the last month, we've seen this dramatic drop and then a dramatic increase. And a lot of people have been being yanked around by fear-mongers out there. Something can be said for pushing away from all of that and just riding it out. Number three, and the third reason we should stop listening to retirement fear-mongers is because you're going to end up going down into a rabbit hole of anxiety. And that's right. If you listen to enough of that, you're just going to go down to into this rabbit hole of anxiety. One click, it leads to another, and then another, and then another, and you just keep clicking and clicking and clicking and clicking. And then the next thing you know, you've gone down this rabbit hole, and when you get all the way down there, you're in this quagmire of fear. Now, to be fair, there is a place in our retirement planning where we should look at these things and address these things, as well as learning from the mistakes of others. But some of these retirement guys, their fear-mongering is simply over the top. It's just too much. It's overwhelming. And all it does is put you down into a rabbit hole of anxiety. Now, yes, I've even addressed some of those kind of concerns on this channel here. Mistakes, things to avoid, regrets, because in our retirement planning, it is the prudent thing to do. But for the most part, instead of being a fear-monger, I try to be encouraging and uplifting and try to show a path where regular working class people like us can find our way to retirement. And that is the general tone of my content here. And by the way, if you're seeing me for the first time, I'm Ronnie. Thanks for stopping by, okay? And to everybody who's watching today, take 1 second to hit that thumbs up button that you'll find down below, because by doing so, it helps the channel out, and I will thank you in advance. Okay, back to the video. Let's turn the corner for some good news. Number 4, retirement is not nearly as complicated as they make it out to be. And I might add, it's not nearly as expensive as they make it out to be. Now, when you listen to these fear-mongers and planners, they have these tables and spreadsheets and calculations, mathematical equations and formulas. They got market projections, rates of inflation, 5-year plans, and so forth and so on. But you know what? It's not that complicated. And you know what they're doing? They're overthinking it. And if you buy into that system, you're going to be overthinking it too. And you're just going to be overwhelmed and just will feel like that I can't retire. Listen to this. We need to plan, and we need to look ahead and do our due diligence when it comes to retirement planning. But listen to this. There is no perfect plan. And the reason there is no perfect plan is because nobody can predict the future. Nobody has a crystal ball. And you can read the tea leaves until the cows come home, but you'll never be able to accurately predict the future. And if you keep working one more year, and one more year, and one more year, and one more year, until you think you have the perfect plan or perfect conditions now exist, you'll never retire. And you'll get stuck in analysis paralysis. And that's exactly what the fear-mongers will do to you. You'll get stuck in analysis paralysis. Number 5, you can retire on almost any amount of money. It just depends on what you're willing to accept as a lifestyle. I'll say that one again. You can retire on almost any amount of money. It just depends on what you're willing to accept as a lifestyle. Now, if you're desperate to get out of the rat race, you can. And you can do it with a lot less money than you think or what they lead you to believe. Now, if your vision of retirement is to travel to Europe and live over there for 6 months out of the year, or to go out and buy yourself a $500,000 motorhome and travel the country 9 months out of the year, then yeah, you're going to need a boatload of money, the kind of money that's out of reach for us regular working class folk. But on the other hand, if you are content to simply live within your means, then retirement is within your reach. So I've said all that to say this. If you're apprehensive about retirement, it's understandable. But don't let your fears hold you back. With a little bit of homework, you can come up with a plan that is perfectly suited for you, the fear-mongers notwithstanding. Number 6, it's more important to be debt-free than to have millions of dollars. Now, I just can't emphasize this enough. It really is more important to be debt-free, especially mortgage-free, than it is to have millions of dollars. If you are debt-free and mortgage-free, I want to tell you something. You're headed for easy street, and that's all that's all there is to it. And becoming debt-free and mortgage-free, that is within reach of the average working class person. Number 7, here's a simple retirement calculator to help you get started. Calculate how much money you have made over 40 years of working, or how much money you anticipate making over 40 years of working, and then use that number to give you a general idea of how much you might need for 20 years of retirement, which is half the time. And in your calculations, also factor in that in your retirement years, your expenses go down for a number of reasons, and this also works in your favor. And then number 8, you're going to be just fine. And here's why. When you reach your retirement age, and as you get older, you're no longer having to support an entire family of 4 or 5 people, and the children and the kids and everybody else. It's just you now, or just you and your spouse. And if you and your spouse both have an income, or both have Social Security, or both have a retirement, then what's the problem? But the main point here is, as you get older, your expenses go down because you're no longer having to support all of the kids, a family of 4 or 5. It's just you now, or just you and your spouse. The kids are up and they're grown, they've moved out. You're no longer having to save for your kids' college fund. You're not having to buy them new cars and pay for their car insurance and that kind of thing. Your house is probably paid for by now. Your cars are paid for by now. You don't have any credit card debt. And you have 0 debt or less debt, but you also have a higher net worth. And you're no longer trying to keep up with the Joneses. You are beyond the point of making those big ticket purchases, which are a funnel for money. All of that's behind you now. Now, all of this adds up to the perfect scenario for retirement. It adds up to the perfect scenario and the perfect conclusion of why retired people, working class retired people, are just so happy. The number 1 thing is pay off your debt. And if you pay off all of your debt, then there's not a thing in the world that's holding you back except yourself. Now, let me close with this. Freedom is the ultimate status symbol. Now, it used to be that if you had an oversized house and a Mercedes-Benz and an upper-level degree, that these were the status symbols that people loved to flex. But you know what? Those kind of status symbols, they're so outdated. I mean, that is so yesterday, especially to us working class people. But today, the ultimate flex is freedom, financial freedom, personal freedom, having freedom with your own time and your own schedule, having a paid off home, and being in charge of your own life. Well, there you go. Those are my reasons for stop listening to retirement fear-mongers and some encouraging tips that might help you see your way forward to retirement yourself. If you've enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up button that you'll find down below. Feel free to subscribe. Please leave me a comment. It really is an encouragement to me when you do so, and others read your comments and they are encouraged as well. Well, I'm Ronnie. Take care, and we'll see you next time.